The Central Bank of Nigeria's Naira for Dollar policy may increase the country's foreign remittances to $34.89 billion by 2023. Forecast by PricewaterhouseCoopers suggests that Nigeria's remittance flows could reach 34.89 billion naira by 2023 if the policies were right. The PwC in the forecast noted that the growth in remittance is subject to global economic forces and can spur or hinder the growth of remittance flow, growth in immigration, economic conditions of residing countries, and poor economic fundamentals in the Nigerian economy. The CBN, which introduced a rebate of 5 naira for every $1 of fund remitted to Nigeria through international money transfer organizations in its new forest policy, shared PwC's forecast via its verified Twitter handle. And the CBN says increased remittances can only be accomplished if the remittance infrastructure improves and if the right policies are put in place.
Okay, our Rise Analyst, Associate Professor Sam AMADI joins us now. Very warm welcome, Sam, to Newsnight Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Chris.
A lot of people have applauded this new central bank policy, as a great incentive that will not only help, boost Nigeria's foreign currency, but help in economic growth as well because of, the various economic activities that it's going to ginger. What are your thoughts here?
Well, I think this is consistent. Since December, CBN has rolled about 5 circulars, and essentially first streamlining the procedure for money remittances. Before now, there have been restrictions, so they have opened it up. And then, of course, they try to discourage informal or unofficial sources. So those circulars create ease, and then, of course, close down first deposit money institutions to work with the central bank and have official process for transfer. So this new incentive, financial incentive, goes to help to improve remittances. CBN knows that they need this dollar now more than ever, both to boost balance of trade, also help with exchange rate, which you can see that in the last 2 weeks there have been some degree of drop in the exchange rate. And again, provide liquidity, especially to benchmark exports. So basically, the right thing to do. Well, the question now is, will Nigerians overseas take advantage of this official corridor with all the 5 naira extra, financial to $1, or would they continue to use the unofficial means that officially Nigeria will lose that opportunity, especially IMF will use all those officials to also benchmark remittances. So basically, what CBN trying to do is to put in more money. They're thinking about 1 billion, for example, a place like Egypt uses up to monthly. Pakistan, $2 billion every month. So CBN calculations, look, even if you get 1 billion, to it will help to show up expected revenue, foreign exchange decline as COVID era. Great idea economically, but yeah.
Great, sorry, Amaka. Great that you mentioned the COVID era, and this policy is just going to last until May. And we know that the economies of the world is, not running at 30%. So where are the remittances going to come from? The greatest point of remittance is the United States, where the citizens, including those Nigerians that are citizens, have been paid stipends, to subsist their living.
Well, the idea is maybe that targeting Biden's stimulus plan. But,
how far would that go?
But the point is that, look, in spite of the COVID, remittances continue. I think it's also driven by crisis. The window tells that they want this money now, to show up budgetary, deficit. So primarily the question is, yes, there's going to be remittances, and maybe some of those who have been keeping money, some of those who have been using money for other kind of transactions, may not feel encouraged by the 5 naira to $1 opportunity. If you look at it, assume if you have a 1 million, you bring $1 million. Look at what that means in terms of earning. It's probably better than you could earn through another process. So the question is, would there be enough people who sign up? Is there going to be increased remittance in the context of global decline? But of course, yes, the question around whether the remittances continue is also about migration. If you look at COVID is also more people are moving out of the country, especially to Canada, and because of the dwindling earning in Nigeria, the incentive to send back money to the dependents and to people at home could offset an expected decline. So primarily, I think the forecast looks a little bit robust. But the question is, what other policies? Looking at it from the point of view of economic development, it's not only about remittances. How is the government trying to optimize the other non-financial resources that the diaspora possess, expertise, in terms of, for example, the idea of the Nigerian Nigerian Diaspora Commission, not just to harness funding, it's also to leverage. For example, education. We have IT experts, professors. Are we doing enough training program to help them build capacity in that category? Nigeria has the largest educated ethnic group in the U.S. About 61% of Nigerians in the U.S. have first degree. If you compare with American-owned data, American citizens who are not Nigerians, about 31% have degrees. So this is the most educated ethnic stock
group
anywhere in that state. So but we're not leveraging that enough.
Okay, Dr. Sam AMADI, would continue this discussion when we return from a commercial break, because we want to take some messages. Just stay with us. We'll be back.
Welcome back. You're still watching Newsnight, coming to you from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Amaka Okoye.
And I am Christian Ogodo. Thanks for staying with us.
Right, we still have Dr. Sam AMADI here with us. We're having the conversation about this new policy. I'm wondering, my question for you is, given the ideal situation, if we paint the ideal situation, you're saying, yes, we expect more transaction. But the question is, why now? Why the introduction of this policy now?
Yeah, towards the end of last year, the governor of Central Bank said that they're expecting to use remittances as a support, financial support for the budget performance. Of course, we expect that there will be crisis implementing the budget with the revenue projections we're getting from oil and non-oil sources. So it has been part of the strategy that remittances will be used. But again, it's based on projection. If you look at the PwC projection, we're expecting increase by this year, 29 point something, perhaps $billion by 2024. So the projections are encouraging, and that's based on that. The central bank thinks probably we can cash out, we can even further improve on this prospect by creating incentive, financial inducement. Whether it will work as planned, it depends on many factors. Some of them are not dependent on the central bank. Attitude, stability in the country, and of course, we hope that our nationals will earn more. But don't forget that sometimes these calculations are also based on the income of the diaspora community. So if their income improves, if the economy increases, minimum wage is passed and is significant, it will impact on what percentage of the income we would think will be remittances. So these projections are based on some proving, some probative, some basically not clear factors. But why now? Because we really need the money. And secondly, the governor thinks perhaps with some fiscal policies, with some incentives, we can actually, create incentive. This is a behavioral, a psychological thing. If we induce that behavior, maybe people will pay more, people will remit more if they think they will get more. So, good idea, but then I think we shouldn't bank so much on remittances to fund the budget.
The budget.
Because that could,
yeah, but with what Price Waterhouse is saying, I mean, that's a huge inflow. If, yes, Nigeria gets there, about $24.39 or so $billion. Yes. I mean, that's very good. That would be about 70% of our forex reserve, right?
Yeah, some people think about 80% even of our national budget. If you use the benchmark of 2019-2018, close to 6.1 perhaps of the GDP. Significant money that come from diaspora. But the question is, how are we also looking at the diaspora as a political constituency. You know, the problem with the diaspora, they say we contribute more than FDI. So that means the diaspora contribute more than
foreign direct investments into the country. Absolutely, yeah.
But we don't treat it. We pamper foreign investors, even prospective, who are not yet coming. We give them all kinds of incentives. We go on roadshow to beg them. But even this diaspora, we're not even giving them right to vote.
And there are quite a number of them that are investors too,
exactly.
that have great
so
investments
basically,
in
you are
the
not
US and
nurturing your golden egg, which is diaspora. If you look at India, not just financial, if you look at the way they use diaspora to trigger technological development, the Bangalore experience across the world. So basically, we're not really doing well nurturing our diaspora. The NIDA or the NIDCOM has not been effective. You know, basically doing more of PR and struggling for stuff with Ministry of Foreign Affairs in terms of program, concretizing, leveraging, twining, you know, creating more focus. And again, you need to structure instruments at home, fiscal instruments, financial instruments, so that the investment will be focused to drive development. These remittances, half of them filter away into not bankable projects. People help their families, people build houses in the villages. But the question is, can you funnel these remittances into projects that drive economic development? So an agency like NIDCOM should be a place that creates that kind of financial processes, making these platforms that people can invest in, create products, market them, and say, look, you come and invest in these products, because that's how you make sure that not just the volume, but the impact and the concentration and the sector where these remittances go to will determine its overall economic impact.
Associate Professor Sam AMADI, thanks so very much, Arise News Analyst, and as well as a senior lecturer with Bayes University here in Abuja. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.